Okay, I hope you can hear me. It says we're on the air. Joe, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
you're good.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. Well, welcome everybody, and here we are at the pre-full moon, maybe a little bit early. We have the sun in Libra, and the moon is in Pisces, and in the last degrees of Pisces, and it's always the way with those degrees that you have to be, I think, very careful because things can go a little bit astray, you know. So, okay, testing. Who is testing?
We hear a voice.
We hear a voice. Okay, just when obviously it's an impression from deep within, but I have muted one of the sources that is possible. Okay, so, well, this is the time of decision, no question about it. Let choice be made is the keynote, the ordinary keynote of Libra. And a more esoteric keynote, I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. And there are always two great lines of force, and always the way becomes ever higher. Okay. But let choice be made. It's a sign of legislation. So, Aries is creation and Cancer is manifestation, and Libra, legislation, and Capricorn, initiation. The cardinal signs bring those in. And we have, I would say, challenges at this moment, not just within the United States, but on a global basis, to see whether the rule of law will prevail, or whether the sun representing on a lower level, sun Leo kind of thing, and just the sun itself, representing on a lower level egotism, will prevail. In other words, a dictatorial tendency. He's talked about how Leo does appear in the chart of dictators, and oftentimes when the issues have come up surrounding the lords of form and their attempt to anchor the human consciousness in the realm of form rather than in the realm of sensitivity and consciousness itself, the sign Leo has been prominent. But now why I'm bringing that up is that if you look at the relationship of the sun to Libra, it is in its fall position. So in a way, we fall away from the lower meanings of circumscribed egotism, and we begin to follow the golden rule of caring about the other person and doing unto the other as you would hope that they would do unto you. So the sort of bombastic personal self-centralization is negated, and the sun in its lower aspect is negated, and in a higher type of relationship is brought forward. So a time of choice. Square Capricorn, interestingly, and Capricorn is the sign of all laws in enforcement, of documents which set up a certain structure and which are expected to be adhered to. Now, we're going to have a constitutional crisis to see whether that can hold or whether egotism prevails. A constitutional crisis in the United States, and something rather similar is occurring in the United Kingdom. And usually some kind of prevarication or lying is brought forward to defend the personal point of view. So we have to uphold the rule of law, and no individual can be said to be above the law. You know, I think it was it Louis the 14th who modestly exclaimed, "L'état c'est moi," I am the state, you know, as if the rest of the people in the court or government did not count. And every once in a while, a dictator emerges. Hitler said, Germany was not worthy of me, he said. I mean, you know, megalomania is an amazing thing, and it can be corrected by the proper kind of sense of proportion that Libra can bring. So I'm happy to see you all. You know, there's maybe too many of us right now for me to go through all the names, and I think more people will be joining us as we go along. So I just want to welcome you to this pre-meditation, and inside the chat box, Joe has Tuya's next broadcast meditation, which is going to begin at 7:30 p.m. GMT, and that will give us a chance to get down to the south, and we'll include the full moon, which will be at, let's see, what does it say here? 7 minutes after midnight in our finish time, and 7 minutes after 9 in GMT. That's in the evening. So we'll be beginning at 7:30, and you know how to get to our normal broadcast on YouTube. It's the same all the time when it's a broadcast. So let's hope that you can be there, unless, of course, you have your own functions that you have to attend and for which you are responsible. I mean, all over the world there are these full moon meetings, and it's all one big meeting, so it doesn't make any difference whether you attend ours or someone else's. But we'll do the best we can for you to give a broad perspective on the sign Libra, the sign of the balance, the sign of the path, of the beginning of the path, and so forth. And later, the sign of the royal road to Shambhala, from the base center to the crown, the completed journey up into the realm of the will, where the purpose of the planetary logos is known. It's a powerful sign. DK has sometimes called it the master of no man's land, because there's just nothing maybe outstanding about it, but the ability to equilibrize conflicting forces is definitely there, and that oscillation between the high and the low, constantly raising itself. This is one of the major dynamics of Libra, always giving a pair of opposites, which the center of which constantly rises until the top of the pairs of opposites is very high indeed. So we all have the pairs of opposites in our nature, and we fight between them to make sure there is an equilibrized path, lest we become too material or so spiritual in what we call spirituality that we ignore the manifestation of the divine plan on the physical plane, which we cannot do because our monadic impulse is to descend through the 5 planes of Atma, Buddhi, Manas, astral and etheric physical, and to be on a redeeming mission and lift those forms of life which are still subject to the third aspect of divinity into the second aspect of divinity. Here you see, the balance, of course, between the sun and the moon. It's kind of hard to tell which way it should go because there's kind of a zigzag that's going on here. But basically, in our spiritual progress, the moon generally represents the personality vehicles and sometimes the entire personality. So it's definitely the past, and everything within our personality does represent the past, which has to be trained to follow the leadership of the solar factor within our nature. Now, what are these solar factors within our nature? Let's just say that the egoic lotus, causal body, angel of the presence, solar angel, these are the solar factors which begin to really shine on the higher mental plane and still higher. However, one of the beautiful things is that the solar angel is so sacrificial, and it's representative, the angel of the presence, that it manages to descend all the way into the personality until even it finds its way into the brain and heart and, the sort of dense levels of the personality. And then comes what we all want, the marriage in the heavens, and that's under Libra. So the soul and personality merge, and they become married partners. Now, first you may have to meet the famous dweller on the threshold, and that oftentimes comes at the seventh house, which is generically ruled by Libra. So you have to confront everything within yourself that is preventing moving forward into the land of light and love and power. And these are the doors of initiation. Libra seems like a gentle sign, but as one of my friends once said, well, why is it that the tail of the scorpion is bent over and aiming right at the center of Libra, as is the spear of the centaur? And I had to acknowledge that the processes going on in Libra can be a lot more intense than we know, as the sense of equilibrium is sought. We have figures here again representing the sun and the moon, and there are some, here we have a Taurian figure dressed in kind of a the yellow color of illumination, and in the midst of the horns of the bull, we will find perhaps Venus, which is one of the main rulers of Libra. And then on the other side, it appears that we have Thoth, who is the great recorder of karma. And he has his pen, well, he usually does, and he's carrying the Ankh, which is a symbol of Venus, which is the ruler of Libra. And the serpent power is winding around him. In a way, he is kind of Mercury, you might say, and he, for the sake of karma, records all that transpires within our personality nature, and both high and low. Now, this looks like part of the Egyptian ritual, where you are Osiris, and you are led into the chamber of the dead and to the great scales, again the Libra symbol, where your heart is weighed against the weight of a feather. Now, this tells you we really have to have the cleansed heart, the lighted heart, the heart full of light. It cannot carry negativity, otherwise it will outweigh the feather. When there's a balance, or when the feather, let us say, symbolizing lightness, is is weightier, then you do not need to reincarnate anymore. Otherwise, the crocodile, which is in one respect the human personality, will eat the heart, which is a symbol of having to return into incarnated life. You see here as well, well, you see a lot of things, you know. The yin and yang symbol is here, and in Libra, the balancing of yin and yang is achieved. It is said that the Christ has the perfect endocrine system, that all of the endocrine glands and chakras are in perfect balance. And I've often thought that as the Prince of Peace, one of his major signs is Libra, and as the world savior, one of his signs is Pisces. I think those would be the two that would be most prominent. Here we have some, it looks like some symbols of high angels, you know, and they are sort of in a Chaldean, Mesopotamian symbol, and they have the wings, and again, they have to balance each other. Notice that the seven-pointed figure contains Libra, and now, for those people, we have the checkerboard, so to speak. Just 1 second here. Let me say that those of you who are Masons will recognize this checkerboard between the black and the white, and it tells us about the great pairs of opposites that are found in our living situation, and they have to be balanced. And again, this is taking place on the ritual floor, all of this. And the light, I think here the fire is somehow representing the royal road, which Libra can represent, or one of the earlier stages of the path. So staying on the straight and narrow path and following that path through all the vicissitudes of karma, this is very important in the Libra life. So if your sun is Libra, or you have a stellium in Libra, or your rising sign is Libra, you know, you're going to be subject to this equilibrizing of the pairs of opposites in your life, and they must be equilibrized eventually. You know, let us say that the Libran person at first tries not to go to extremes, although the swinging of the scale may take them into the extremes. They really try to blend, fuse, and marry the pairs of opposites. So that's a little bit about this sign. And of course, it also, I think, has a lot to do with the Shushumna, or the central channel, up the spine, connecting the base to the crown. So, I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. Now, for many of us, it's soul and personality, okay? We have to live a life that is both soul and personality. The personality is soul infused, and the soul is aware of the condition of the personality, and there's a harmonious marriage passing between the two. Now that continues to progress, and I would say we have a point where the monad is the higher of the pairs of opposites, and the soul-infused personality the lower, or even the triadally soul-infused personality in balance with the monad, or our highest point of being, at least on the cosmic physical plane. So, walking with steadiness and balance, the noble middle path is, and thus emulating Venus, which our earthly personality must become, in a way. Earth must be like Venus more and more, and our personality must be more and more like the solar angel, the angel of the presence, the extension of the solar angel. So this is the path, the middle path, which will lead in that direction. Matter of fact, the cube of space is involved here, and basically, you have the sideways extremes, you have forward and backward, and then you have elevation, and that which is the lower of the pairs of opposites. So somehow all of these have to be reconciled and brought together in harmony. Okay, well, there's so much to study here, and I trust you'll be reading the Libra chapter at this time and using this mantra and seeing what kind of equilibrization exists in your life. Now, I want to recommend that you follow Francis's his teachings and images on Libra, and here Joe has put these in the chat box. You may remember our tightrope walker here, and it looks like really an amazing feat, you've seen people do these extraordinary things. In the left hand is the bell, the female symbol, and in the right hand is the dorja. And inside the dorja, Francis recommends that we look for if you blow it up quite big, you'll see the sign, the planet Uranus, which is the esoteric ruler of Libra. Is this sign masculine? Is it feminine? A lot of people who are born in Libra or have Libra powerful in their chart show kind of androgynous traits. And these days, when it seems that people can, or are trying to anyway, choose their gender, and out of a wide selection, it looks like Libra will be the sign involved. It rules from the first ray angle law. From the second ray angle, it rules sex and divine love, really, at some point. And then from the third ray angle, it rules money, law, sex, and money. And maybe its rulers, being Venus, Uranus and Saturn correlate with these, and not necessarily one-to-one, but pretty closely. Saturn represents the law, obviously. Venus, with its magnetic power, the sex and love, and money, the power to materialize by using the flowing golden substance, that is Uranus. So it's pivotal there, and we have to decide how we will balance these contending forces. There's a lot of beauty in the sign Libra because of the arts and the power of Venus that is there, and the formulas for beauty are found. And so we have to see, this is found in people, this is found in their creations, and so forth. But the woman here will make it across, apparently. And Francis points out that she's quite transparent, which is as it should be. Sometimes people carry a balance bar, and that is helping a great deal. But the two Tibetan instruments of the female bell, attractive as it is, the school bell, so to speak, and the dorja, the thunderbolt, that is used to achieve balance. Now, he's also, I'm just saying just a little bit about what he's done here, because I think you have to read and study his presentation, and that would be the best. Here we have a figure that has arisen from the sort of a Pallas Athene figure who has arisen from the headache which Jupiter or Zeus was having. So Vulcan, the future husband of Venus, came, and no other way for it but to hit Jupiter on the head with a hammer, his famous hammer, split the head open, and out comes Minerva or Wisdom, or all of these characters that are related to Venus. Maybe to say a little bit about this, this is his 2011, and he's calling it Athena, the kind of sparkling androgynous figure that arises from the head of the great god. When Athena burst forth, fully formed in the head of Zeus, or from the head of Zeus, she gave us our most graphic example of the nature of Venus. See, all of these are subsidiaries of Venus. Our planet here on Earth, our planet of emulation. Both brilliant and beautiful, she epitomizes the ideal feminine, the third aspect of divinity, and there's more to it, of course. The razor's edge also depicts Venus at the instant of her emerging. The fragments of her body still half in the darkness of the noumenal realm. The noumenon is the archetype which has to be fulfilled in the Mosaic world, and half bathed in the light of manifestation. By stepping onto the narrow razor-edged path which runs between the pairs of opposites, she at once exemplifies the lesson of Libra. Let's take a look at her again. She's walking the tightrope, isn't she? And she looks very much in control. Now we know that through the planets come the fifth ray of Venus, the seventh ray of Uranus, and the third ray of Saturn, all rays of form. This is the work of Uranus, which the Tibetan describes as occult consciousness, or that intelligent fusing condition which produces the scientific at one-ment of the two factors, higher and lower self. And in Libra, that's always what we're trying to do. Now, there is no specifically seventh ray given in Libra, usually the third ray, and hinted at the second and the possibility of the first, yes. But Libra is the seventh sign, and by numerical resonance carries some of that quality of the seventh ray. So the scientific at one-ment of the higher and lower self through the intelligent use of the mind. Okay, well, there's a number of things here, and you can study the sacred geometry aspect with Francis when you go to that link. And here's just a couple of little quotes which I think are useful. In Libra, and think about that when people are taking, let's say the first initiation, where they're really stepping onto the path and into the hall of wisdom, and what signs may appear during those initiatory moments. In Libra, the first real vision of the path appears. Okay, now you can be born in Libra, umpteen times. It can be unbalanced, fiery passion. It can be many, many things in the early days. But eventually, at the seventh petal of the egoic lotus, ruled by Libra, through numerical resonance, we have the real beginning of the path and the completing of the first initiation. Life of soul and form is balanced. Neither dominates. Now we have to remember that about the avoidance of extremes that we see in many Libran people. Neither dominates. Equilibrium. An interlude wherein the soul, this is an important one, an interlude wherein the soul organizes itself for battle and the personality waits. Now, where's that battle going to be fought? Obviously in Scorpio, the impending sign. This is the probationary path, and duality is known. So we're going to always look for the pairs of opposites, which can be many different things, but for most of us, soul and personality, and trying to create with them that divine marriage, which will make the effective soul-infused personality serving with beauty and balance the divine plan. Okay, and as I say, go to, I think it's probably on the Makara website, but go to this teaching on Libra, and, somewhere here it's going to be found, and I'm not sure if I can do it. Is it happening? Yeah. Libra and evocative images and esoteric teaching. Here's Francis, and he is describing these things, and you can take your leisure in examining these things, which we should do at every opportunity when the full moon appears. Okay, and there's looks like the dodecahedron, yeah, okay. All right, so that's going to be really worth examination, and let us proceed. All right, friends, so now the meditation. And meanwhile, more of us have gathered, and that's good. And I just want to welcome you all and thank you for attending, one of our interior processes, which are meant to help on the outer plane, and we do need that help at this time. It's so interesting about Libra right now. So many issues are being worked out in relationship, and DK said it would be getting stronger and stronger toward the end of the last century, and it continues to strengthen in the planetary horoscope. So all these issues of Libra are coming to the fore. All right. So here's our meditative outline. And we're pretty much in this day of aspiration, I guess you might say, and then 12 hours before the full moon. Maybe we're sort of in the day of confidence and aspiration, and aspiration and dedication. And then comes the actual reception, which will be about 7 minutes after midnight, or 7 minutes after, I'm talking about finish time, 7 minutes after 9 p.m. on the 13th GMT. So let's see, much about our governmental processes is temporarily out of balance, and we need the adjustment and the equilibrizing and the respect for law and legislation. We need those factors, and maybe we can bring them to the fore, because humanity needs the balance at the moment, lest it's lest things get very much worse, which is also a possibility. Okay, so we'll just have a moment of silence here. We'll all come together wherever we happen to be, and I think everybody in every country can find the time to meditate at this time. And we'll think of ourselves as a a community of soul-infused personalities. The light and love and power of the soul is shining through us in various degrees, and we link with each other in that way. And we link with each other as if we were souls on the plane of soul. And we're going to do, some interior work that will strengthen the outer work of the men and women of goodwill and the new group of world servers. So it's as if we merge ourselves on the soul realm and somehow find the soul of the men and women of goodwill. We find their consciousness and we strengthen it. It's basically love in action. Think about that. The second aspect, love and action. The third aspect, the blending of the two, is goodwill. It works out in manifestation. And the true world servers, maybe they're a little more advanced and they're really committed to knowing what is the divine plan and helping that divine plan to manifest. And then we think about, of course, the one soul of humanity. It's so easy to think about my soul and thy soul, and it's true, we do have distinctive vehicles of the soul. The causal body, the egoic lotus, is in a way unique for each one of us. But the identity within that causal body, that's another matter. And that is really one great consciousness with many apertures. And we come to the idea that really there is no my soul or thy soul. There's one identity and one consciousness. And we work with the second ray mantra to be understood in the broad and impersonal sense, which signals a change of identity for the human being, or at least the perception of a change of identity. Naught is but me. And with divine love and divine understanding, we're moving towards an appreciation of that naught is but me mantra. Now, and I think if that begins to dawn, then everything changes. And we become really the participant in all aspects of the soul of humanity. And of course it really goes beyond that, but let's just be at first satisfied with expanding our sense of self into group and nation and continents and finally all of humanity and eventually the planet as a whole, not is but me. So practice that as I advise the people in the identification as being sort of webinar series to practice not is but me. And very good results will come from that practice. Now, we're in a unique position here because we're building a bridge to the spiritual triad and beyond. And, you know, here's our, here it is. Here's our bridge. And it's also connected with the astral vehicle and the astral permanent atom and the etheric physical vehicle. And we're going to build that bridge to the realm of supermind. Gemini rules the ordinary mind and the soul mind together. Libra rules super mind. Maybe we want to call it triadal mind. And Aquarius rules universal mind. And where will we find that? Maybe the first aspect of it on the atmic plane. Anyway, all the air signs, they have something to do with mind and with connecting via mind. So, you know, we visualize that rainbow bridge, let's say, connecting the astral vehicle with as much of the Buddhic realm as we can manage. We can't ascend to the very heights of the Buddhic realm because even the masters can't. Those are the realms of the Chohans. And the same is true with Atma. The top two very occult subplanes are not even open in terms of their qualities to the masters themselves. But from the astral plane to the intuitive plane, we can imagine there is a strong connection. And it passes through the energies gathered around the mental unit. I think you can see that here. And these energies are drawn. Well, actually, here's the monastic permanent atom. We'll try to reach that, but the mental unit is here. The energies are drawn from the knowledge petals of the egoic lotus, from the love petals of the egoic lotus, from the sacrifice petals of the egoic lotus, from the Buddhic synthesis petals of the egoic lotus, and finally from the jewel in the lotus itself. So there's a pool of retained energies in the vicinity of the mental unit, and through that the line of multicolored light passes on its way to the Buddhic plane and eventually and beyond to the atmic and the monadic level. So DK has given us a new way of building the Antakarana, and it involves projection, alignment. And the color of your antikarana would be largely the color of your soul and personality rays. Though all the colors would be found therein, in that ascending rainbow bridge. This is all symbolism, of course. There's some kind of mathematical reality behind it all, but to put it in terms of image, we see the multicolored river flowing upwards. And we're going to use a powerful projection coloring the bridge mainly indigo. So do that. Color your bridge mainly indigo for the group process on the second ray. And we're going to sound the Om 3 times, and inwardly we say the second ray mantram, opening up the triadal worlds and the worlds of response, evoking the response from the higher aspects of ourselves. We're going to say inwardly, I see the greatest light. And indeed, that's what we hope to see one day, relatively close to home. There is the unfettered light of Shambhala, the liberated light of Shambhala, this greatest light, revealing the purpose and the plan of Sanat Kumara as he serves his emanated source, which is the planetary logos. So, outwardly we sound the Om, inwardly we recite the words as we project a line of radiant light from the bottom to the top, symbolically at least, from the astral plane through the mental plane, the mental unit, through the retained energies, through the monastic permanent atom, as far as we can go on the Buddhic level and the atmic levels, and simply imagining that it may touch the unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala. And the higher realms will respond and will meet our upward tending projection at a point where things happen and revelation comes. I see the greatest light. As we project into this triad ruled by Libra, let us remember the triads are ruled by Libra. We are entering the world where the masters are found, where their consciousness is normally habitually focused. And we establish in our imagination our cooperation, our union, our love energy with the great teachers. So we feel ourselves somehow connected with that realm where they focus. Salutations to the Christ, the Master of all masters. Salutations to the triangle of masters with whom we most closely work. That would be Master M, Master KH, and Master DK, at least in this type of training. Salutations to the Master Moria, the head of all esoteric schools and organizations. Salutations to the Master Kutumi, the head of the second Ray Ashram, the Chohan in charge, the foremost assistant to the Christ, and the Bodhisattva of the coming age of Capricorn in another 2,300 years. Salutations to the Master Jwal Kul, who has given us the blue books. He is the messenger of the masters, at this time the sanctioned messenger, and who is training aspirants for the initiations of the threshold, 1 and 2, and in some cases the 3rd degree. Salutations to Master Jwal Kul. Salutations to your own master, as you know him to be or conceive him to be. Salutations to the spiritual hierarchy of our planet. And now, in our imagination at least, we raise our thought to Shambhala, the center where the will of God is known. It is a fiery world, and the highest level of it, as regards the cosmic physical plane, is the sea of fire, the logoic plane. We raise our thought to Shambhala. And with deepest reverence and in all humility, we attempt, identified as a group, to attune with the presence of Sanat Kumara, standing at the center of Shambhala as the Lord of the world. And a very long, silent, inner Om, as we imagine the group imbued with his energies. And Libra, we know, is very closely connected with Shambhala. Of course, in a way, all the signs are. But Libra is the sign of peace. And Shambhala, if we could but realize it, is the one great center of perfect peace upon our planet. Not the hierarchy, but Shambhala. And now we're going to take our journey as if under the guidance of the consciousness of Master DK, and come to terms as best we can with the meaning of the associated planets, the rays, the form of light, and various constellations, but especially the constellation Libra. So it's as if all of us become compressed, leaving our normal body image out of the picture, and we are fused together into a point of light, all of us together at a point of intense light. And in that point, the love energy. And in that point, the energy of what will really is. At the great decision, I think, number 6, we find out what will really is. Because as monads, we walk yet another path, a chosen path which leads away from this planet towards certain sacred planets and eventually off the cosmic physical plane altogether. And so our point of light, love, and power is as if above a golden pathway. And a golden pathway it is which leads into an indigo sun. After all, our logos is called the blue logos, our solar logos. And that path, that golden pathway, is going to shorten and shorten until it is absorbed within the indigo sphere, and there we will find the consciousness of the Master DK awaiting us. So, deeper and deeper toward the indigo sphere, we ride that pathway of gold, shorter and shorter, until we imagine ourselves now absorbed in the great indigo sphere. And our group, as if, becomes receptive to the consciousness of Master DK, who is, we know, an expert in the astrological, rheological factors and also the creative hierarchies. And so we act as regards new thoughts that may come to us as an outpost. We, the whole group, an outpost of the Master DK's deep knowledge and consciousness of these matters. We commit ourselves to try to be that kind of outpost. Now we can expect his specific supervision, at least if we can qualify as one of his groups, about 12 hours before the exact full moon, which is at 9:07 approximately in the morning. Wait a second. Yeah, that's the 12-hour period on the 13th. Today is the 11th, 12th Sunday the 13th around 9:07. And then the idea of seeing the group approach, or as individuals approach him, they approach as members of the group. And that's what he wants to cultivate, the group consciousness. Now we go forward and we start to encounter the different energies which are available now. The Venusian energy, giving us, something higher, more refined, giving us an emphasis upon soul values, and balanced and wisely used with personality necessities. We're going to touch the ambient available energies of Venus, and then Uranus, the esoteric ruler, and giving us the power to create in these lower worlds in an authentic manner, which is archetypal. We don't have to pretend anything. We are what we are, and we offer the gift of our genuine archetypal self under Uranus. And then Saturn. It's a planet very powerful in Libra. It is archetypally the exalted planet and the hierarchical ruler, and the fulfillment of karma comes here. Fulfilled in justice and in beauty, we obey the law, we make amends, we adjust our relationships until they become right human relationships under beauty, under the law. So much is possible in Libra. Now let's take the planets and their emanations, their radiations, one at a time. First, the ordinary Orthodox ruler Venus, and we will realize that under Venus we have the opportunity to be strengthened, to be fortified by the angel of the presence, expressing the solar angel. It's a loving, lighted influence. It's a benevolent influence. It's a higher power influence. And its magnetic quality is leading us towards that desirable union we call the divine marriage. It's a bit like soul and personality uniting, like Venus and the Earth uniting, like still higher factors uniting. orient ourselves towards the solar angel and its the beginning of the consummation leading to the fourth degree. We call it the divine marriage, and we contemplate for a moment, and contemplation is the word when it comes to Libra. We slip into the soul's meditation and we contemplate the marriage in the heavens and the absorption of the personality into the radiant beauty of the soul. Now just imagine having such a guide, which is really in a way united with our higher self, having such a source of love and wisdom within us, which we could consult when in doubt and when important decisions have to be made. The angel of the presence must come ever closer and more deeply penetrate our consciousness. So let's imagine that into our group and groups flows this Venusian angelic energy, imbuing the group with those divine qualities of refinement, of luminosity, of wisdom, of higher mind, and beauty. We'll sound an Om and imagine the Venusian energies flowing in and merging with the energies of our energy system. And let those qualities characterize our individual and group life. Now, under the guidance of Master DK, let us imagine that we are coming en rapport as a group with the energies of Uranus, the esoteric ruler, the planet of true archetypes that is going to be creating in socially minded Libra a new type of social order based on archetypal authenticity, not how you think you should be, how you've been absolutely taught to be, even if it's not your nature, but the authentic way of bringing what you are to another person, to another group, bringing the authenticity of Uranus. Because ultimately that's what people want from us, is who we really are, and not some fabrication. And a new type of group creativity will emerge here, especially in the age of Aquarius. Not just the conforming group, but the creative group under Uranus. Fresh modes of cooperation, interplay, which contribute to a vitalization of all energy systems, vitalization, betterment, balance of all energy systems, great and small, within our planet. So think about the incredible electric energy of Uranus, bringing authenticity, creativity, revitalization, a whole new way of relating and of being. It's like the gift of the gods when you bring your real self into relationship with the real self of others. And new forms of social interaction based on truth, authenticity, they will be working out. So let's bring that Uranian energy into our group and groups on the color violet. We'll sound the Om and bring it in and see our individual selves and the group self revitalized, enlivened, made true to what it really is, instead of just pretending to be something. We bring the energy in. And we carry this electric charge of authenticity and share it, with our fellow disciples, and also a group sharing whatever groups we may be part of. And finally, it's as if we face Saturn, one of the two largest planets, with Jupiter, the so-called gas giants. And it is a great ruler in Libra, maybe stronger there than any other place, ruling hierarchically and also exalted in that sign. And so, for a few moments, let us ponder the nature of divine law. Not just divine understanding and divine love. Libra has access to these, but also divine law. Saturn is involved, we know, with many first-ray configurations. So it's expressed through the spiritual will of the atmic plane, which Saturn rules. It has much to do with the triads and the triple flowers, and with the number 3. So what is divine law? What is spiritual will? we realize something deeper about the divine plan, which in a way originates from the atmic plane, received from the monad into the world of Brahma, Saturn resting atop the highest level of Brahma, the third aspect of divinity. We realize something of the dynamic equilibrium. Just think of the third ray and Libra together. The dynamic equilibrium and manifestation which is intended by the divine plan and its expression. There's a lawful balancing of karmic imbalances. Karma is a hard law, but it's also an intermediary law, which speaks to the Libra part of it, the intermediate law of karma. For our purposes, it's coming from the star Sirius, the logos of Sirius, and we can balance and achieve love and right relations and beauty if we correct these imbalances through Saturnian intelligence and the equilibrizing power of Libra, bringing things into right relations. So, under Saturn, a just and harmonious expression of the divine plan, which above all we should serve. We serve the plan first, and then we serve those whom the plan serves, and then we serve those who serve the plan. So it's a sacrificial road. We are imbued by the spiritual will to serve the plan. So let's bring that idea, plan first, into our groups. It's the whole of the earth. It's Shambhala to be expressed upon the outer planes. It's not one country or another being the best or foremost. All are needed. And we have to see ourselves and act as if we are servants of the divine plan, functioning under the spiritual will. So let's imagine that knowledge of the plan, intelligent, supermind knowledge of the plan, triadal knowledge of the plan, is pouring into our consciousness. And we rise away from the strictly personal, disturbing, irritating things that come from the normal frictions of life, and we care about the big picture. So into our group and groups, the presence of the plan as intelligently appreciated as possible. One of the ways of keeping our balance is to have in mind with frequency the understanding of the plan, the welfare of the plan, the manifestation of the plan, and at the very least we know that light, love, and spiritual will, the power of spiritual will, are coming in, expressing the divine plan. So we've faced as a group these present energies. Venus is strong now. Uranus is strong now. Saturn is strong now. The angelic influence can be strengthened. We've just held a broadcast of the Week of the Angels, Time of the Angels, and St. Michael's Day on the 29th of September. And the whole idea of authenticity in relationship is with us now, and the idea of the overarching divine plan for this planet and beyond, the plan that we together serve. Because we are in, a love-wisdom solar system. And if we do these things, we bring in and express love and wisdom, the personality ray, soul ray, and probably the eventual monadic ray of our solar God. And we're all really units of love and wisdom, the dual ray of the solar system. Whatever our rays may be otherwise, our function within the larger whole of the solar system is love and wisdom. So we can be consumed by the fire of love. This is what DK sought for ourselves in this blue solar system. Our God is a consuming fire of love. And the light we encounter, how interesting, the light which moves to rest. This is the light that oscillates until the point of balance is achieved. It is the light which is distinguished by a moving up and down between the higher and lower pairs of opposites, and this is the great challenge of Libra, to achieve an equilibrium between the two. In Scorpio, another thing will happen. And the higher of the pairs of opposites will claim its prerogative. So let's open to the feeling of Libra. Used to be the claws of the scorpion, very close to the scorpion. It's kind of a triple sign, as you would expect. just like Capricorn capitalizes upon the triangle, too. And let's open ourselves to the feel of the energy quality of Libra. The third ray is very strong in a third ray constellation, and with Saturn being the primary planet here, Saturn being primarily ruled by the third ray. We are simply in a pervading quality of Libra these days. And we have to remember that. Pretty soon the moon will be moving into Aries, and I guess that'll be happening in the morning. There's another less than 4 degrees to go, and it happens at 7:45 here in Finland, and at 4:45 in the morning GMT. So we will have the opposites that lead to the full moon. So let's focus then, as we are reaching the climax of our meditation, on the meaning for us, for humanity, for the planet of I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. We'll spend a few minutes in meditation accordingly. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. What are those lines of force in your life? Not escaping from or ignoring one or the other. There are two, and there's a noble middle path. It's a profound mantra, and we have a couple of days here. At 9:07 and a few seconds, we will have the actual full moon. That's on the 13th, Sunday the 13th, and we're a little less than 48 hours away. And we can ponder this noble middle path, giving acknowledgement to the higher and the lower of the pairs of opposites, finding a way to balance all of the axes of the cube of space, left, right, here, there, up, down. On each one of those paths, there can be a point, which is our point, and gradually the cube of space will expand, and the point of equilibrium for all the six extremes will rise and rise and rise. For some people, it's between mind and emotion. For some, it's between soul and mind. For some, it's between soul and the entire personality, and later the triad is the higher of the pairs of opposites, and later the monad, and later, as we merge together, higher and higher sources of expression. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. So for a couple of days now, let's keep that mantra in our mind, and also the higher meaning of let choice be made, the right choice. And so the energies really are coming from the one about whom naught may be said, a super cosmic logos. The Pleiades play a big part in that being. Pleiades, strong third ray, Libra, strong third ray. There is a heart in the head center in the Pleiades with 12 petals, each petal a constellation, and so there is a Libran petal. And maybe its energy somehow touches the little bear first, the middlemost of the great triangle, Pleiades, Great Bear, Little Bear. The expression, really, the augmented expression of Sirius. And interesting, the star of guidance, Polaris, is in the tail of the little bear. So we have to have that sense of direction. What is that way? What is that path we follow, always so associated with Libra, that leads between the two great lines of force? And the energy flows on into our local cosmic logos, in which our solar logos is a great heart center. Sometimes Libra represents the balance of the heart. And then from the sun, from the solar logos out into Venus and Uranus and Saturn, with different functions through each one, depending on our stage of evolution, and into our monad, and into the soul, and into our energy system, until we can equilibrize that energy system, the chakras within it, and so forth, and start to emulate the Christ with the perfectly balanced endocrine system. I choose the way which leads between the two great lines of force. This is the sign of peace, the peace of Shambhala, the peace of the Spirit of Peace, the peace of the Prince of Peace. Maybe take a look around the world and project into its midst, into an area where this equilibrizing Libran energy is needed. Project that energy to have a beneficent effect. And let's see the area you have chosen improving in its functioning, because this sign of justice and equilibrium and fairness and peacefulness has been introduced. We'll sound an Om seeing that effect. Oh. And so let there indeed be peace on earth. It's an amazing quality, this peace. It is shambolic in nature. It's correlated with the spirit of peace, the great triangle surrounding the Christ, who is the Prince of Peace, will be so instrumental in bringing about the proper peace to humanity. And then when sharing is instituted and the political and church organizations clean house, then the great Lord can make his appearance. So, friends, just want to say that Tui and I will be traveling tomorrow morning and also Sunday morning, at least in GMT morning. We will not be broadcasting the last two Ask programs about the soul of nations and also attracting financial resources for hierarchical purposes, but take them seriously. We are right now in our time working very much with the struggle between the soul of nations and their resurgent personalities. So let's make sure we know the difference and emphasize the soul for every nation and for its leaders and for humanity as a whole. So let us close then with this mantra of power and light retained within Shambhala until the Christ made his great decision, in a way, to return to humanity for 2,000 years plus of visibility at great sacrifice. We won't know the extent of what the sacrifice really was until a future time. So here we go, and with our thanks, everybody on the Moria Federation team, the university team, it's a lot of people involved in many things together. Seven Ray Institute, Blue Rose Sisterhood. We send our love and we send many blessings for the improvement, constant improvement of our esoteric work together. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Friends, this video will soon be ready. Has to be converted so everybody can use it and see it. Please spread it around. Let people know it exists on Makara. Study the contents. Use the mantram. And seek to tread and understand and tread the noble middle path as we move towards the exact moment of the full moon, which will be 9:07, and a few seconds here, 9:07 and 45 seconds. For those of you who are exact in the way that the Swiss ephemeris is exact. So again, not tomorrow morning as we usually do, and not Sunday morning as we usually do, because we have to leave room for our travels. Usually Monday and Tuesday are break days, but we will have late Tuesday the continuation of the webinar on identifying as being, and then we'll start again next week with the triangles work, and it will be on the evening schedule. Okay, friends, thank you for being here with us. Bye-bye for now.